I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. Pope Benedict tonight is calling for a new moral force in the world, an authority able to ensure global peace. The Holy Father met with the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace at the Vatican. There he noted that Blessed Pope John XXIII had called for the construction of a world community organization to serve the common good. Benedict told the group, led by Cardinal Peter Turkson, that he himself stressed the same thing in a 2009 encyclical. Now the Holy Father wants a new world body that's not a superpower dominating the weak, but a moral force with authority dedicated to establishing peace. Previously, the Pontifical Council had called for the creation of a central world bank to regulate all global financial activity. And while the Holy Father's vision is not yet reality, any group working for peace would be tested by developments in Syria. The civil war, already responsible for killing more than 40,000 people, now threatens mass death in one blow. U.S. intelligence agents are saying that the regime of Bashar al-Assad is preparing chemical weapons of mass destruction to be used against other Syrians. Our government is warning him, speaking with one voice.
The world is watching. The use of chemical weapons is and would be totally unacceptable.
This is a red line for the United States, but suffice it to say we are certainly planning to take action if that eventuality were to occur.
Assad has huge stockpiles of chemical weapons. Sarin is the worst and extremely deadly. One drop can kill in just minutes. Death may also come more slowly, more painfully through starvation. And, as we now learn, the most vulnerable are the Syrian children.
Elbowing, shoving, anything just to get a ladle full of cracked wheat. You will all get some, you will all get some, Abu Abdul, one of the neighborhood volunteers, shouts, before realizing it's not the case. They would all get some, but there isn't any left as he scrapes the bottom of the pot. Little hands try to desperately grasp small bags of hummus passing overhead. In a massive pan, another volunteer can't fry the falafel fast enough. There are about 6 to 7 of us in the neighborhood who are collecting money to help feed the poor children, Abu Abdul explains. It's not much, but it's all they can do to ease the burden on the parents. Many families have returned back to their homes only to find little left. Prices have skyrocketed. For many, even the basics like bread are unaffordable. Until when? Until when are we going to live like this? Abu Abdul cries, his eyes tearing. Look, people are eating burnt food. For another of the volunteers, the sheer stress of all they have been through reaches near breaking point. I swear with my life, we are 12 brothers willing to die for this, he shrieks. We will all die martyrs. 11-year-old Rame, her plate still empty, says there's not much food at home, that they only really eat breakfast. Look, film this. The burnt scraps are even taken, a man says as a child displays 2 bowls. The children swarm around the falafel fryer. The volunteers have been cooking and distributing for a week now. All they can do is hope tomorrow they will be able to gather enough money to make more. Arwa Damon, CNN, Aleppo.
Meantime, in Nigeria, Islamist terrorists slaughtered 10 Christians. Their throats were slit, the entire neighborhood ransacked. 2 police officers were also killed during the violence. And in China, 9 Christians have been detained for providing medical care and praying in Mongolia. 2 women have been sentenced to a labor camp for, quote, re-education. Up next, more on the homeless man with new boots as Currents continues after the break. Welcome back. We know a little more tonight about the homeless man helped by a New York City police officer. The man's name is Larry Hillman. He's 54 years old. Police officer Larry DePrimo found him in Times Square last week without any shoes or socks and large blisters on his feet. Well, the policeman used his own money to buy Larry a new pair of boots. The news received worldwide attention. We also now know that Larry has a brother, Kirk, a Baptist elder living in Pennsylvania.
There has been homeless for a while. He's been on the street for many, many years of his life. I would pray that my brother can, hopefully one day be moved in his heart to want to change his life. But, that's my desire for him. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Larry Hillman is back on the streets, barefoot. He told a reporter that he's hidden the boots so they don't get stolen. An outpouring of help for a Catholic parish in our diocese is coming from students hundreds of miles away in Virginia. Together, the children share something special, and we were there when the help arrived.
Today, children from St. Thomas More Cathedral Parish in Arlington, Virginia came to visit our children of Blessed Trinity, and they presented them a check for $1,600 that they have raised on their own.
We found out about Hurricane Sandy. We heard the destruction that happened to St. Thomas More School, and we just wanted to give back. So our school raised money for St. Thomas More Breezy Point, and we came here to bring it to you guys.
So each child gave more than what they were supposed to, just because they were moved by what they saw, and they knew that they could help.
It's an amazing opportunity for us. We needed to do something, and especially in this season of Christmas, it's about giving and not getting. And if we could help these students anyway, this would just be our little token that we could help them.
Outreach of the kids from St. Thomas More School to the school children of St. Thomas More Blessed Trinity Parish. It's a beautiful sign of our connectedness in the faith and the value of Catholic education across the board.
I really feel sort of what they feel, since they had a bad hurricane and their house or their school was sort of destroyed, and all I wanted to do is make them feel better and sort of comfort them and give them hope.
The water kept coming through the door, and we tried to block it, but then we just gave up because there was too much water coming. And then we heard that there were fires, and we went across the street with our neighbors. And then eventually that went on fire, so we had to go to the corner. So I went in the kayak then because the water was too deep for me.
I got water in my whole basement and my first floor, so we had to move. And everyone is living in different areas. I mean, like, you don't really see your friends as much as you usually would, like every day. So it's kind of hard living where you're not in your own town.
Every weekend, me and my friends, we always go down to Breezy, and we always help with each other's houses, clean up, and we usually go over and see everyone's houses and see all our friends in our community.
Well, right after the storm, everyone kind of felt like hope was gone, and then our community came together, and all the people helped us, and they got hope, and we're getting better every day.
Monsignor Michael Curran, the pastor of Blessed Trinity Parish in Breezy Point, says the money will go toward the youth of the parish. Meanwhile, a Brooklyn member of New York State Assembly is calling on his fellow legislators to come up with a way to keep Catholic schools from closing. Kareem Kamara is also a Protestant pastor and finds the news that the New York Archdiocese is set to close more than 24 schools troubling. Writing in today's New York Post, the assemblyman argues that it makes no sense to allow high-quality Catholic schools to go under. Meantime, at Catholic colleges, the teachers and administrators at the top 23 schools supported President Obama's re-election in a big way with their money. 91% gave campaign contributions to the president. The breakdown, $450,000 to Mr. Obama, $70,000 to Governor Romney. Up next, the greatest miracle in animation after the break. Welcome back. A newspaper with the word Catholic in its name is calling for the ordination of women as priests in an editorial. The National Catholic Reporter based in Kansas City is notorious for disagreeing with church teachings. The paper's articles are often quoted in the New York Times. The best-selling author and theologian Christopher West was in downtown Brooklyn at St. James Cathedral last night to discuss a hot topic, asking the question, what does it mean to live our God-given lives as men and women in today's sexually confused world?
The hunger for love, the hunger for meaning, it is connected with our sexuality. And very few of us have been led to the wedding feast that Christ proclaimed. Most of us have been raised on the starvation diet gospel when it comes to this hunger.
Tonight we are hosting Christopher West to give a talk on theology of the body. And we are a group called Heart's Home, which is an international Catholic nonprofit organization.
We may know we're called to love as God loves, but how does God love? And one of the great gifts of the theology of the body is that we recognize that the call to love as God loves is literally stamped in our bodies. Or ladies, if you're over there, come over here. Guys, I need you to come over to this side of the church.
I have a few of Christopher West's CDs, and so I've never heard of him live, and I wanted to kind of hear a different, maybe if there's something new he was going to bring.
There's a certain fear in the man that comes from sin, and there's a certain fear in the woman that comes from sin. There's a certain way we compensate. There's a certain need we have.
Sometimes in relationships, we have difficulties, I guess all men. Speaking for myself, I guess, have difficulties trying to understand a woman and trying to meet all her needs. So I figured this would be good to understand or get more clarification.
With fear and trembling, I would dare to say that a deep, deep fear in the woman's heart, if not the deepest, is the fear of being abandoned. Will you still love me tomorrow? Oh my gosh.
He pretty much hit it on the money in terms of really discussing how women face these fears. And I was reflecting on my own personal experience in life and in relationships, and then also broadly looking outwards towards the culture and how much I can see that closed perspective really playing out. So it was a great challenge to be more open and trusting in what the Lord has and the goodness that He has in store.
A New York Times columnist is weighing in on the news that the birth rate in the U.S. is at a record low. Ross Douthat, a Catholic, writes that the falling number of births in America represents decadence, where our culture embraces comfort instead of making the basic sacrifices that built our civilization in the first place. But he adds, such decadence need not be permanent. Thanks to the sacrifices of mothers and pro-life Catholics, the Cardinal of Mexico City has been able to baptize 21 children who were rescued from abortion. Cardinal Norberto Rivera stressed now that the children's physical lives have been saved. Tending to their spiritual lives is equally important. The baptisms are being called a sign of hope for Mexico City, a city plagued by more than 80,000 abortions. Earlier today, I spoke with a movie producer in Mexico City about his new story regarding choices between good and evil and describing the impact of the grace of God. The Greatest Miracle focuses on 3 characters and their guardian angels and highlights the power of prayer. Here's a clip.
And we don't even know how to plead.
So how is it done?
Ask Him in silence for what you want the most, for all your heart's desires. Very good. Now pray for other people. Pray for your son. For Fernando, pray for your parents and family. Don't stop. Go on. Pray for world peace, for sinners, for our priests and their missions. Pray to God, but not only for yourself, but for those who need it the most. And now with all of your soul, make your offering to our Lord. It is ready for our Father.
Pablo, this is an animated story with a very powerful message. Tell us first about the unseen spiritual influences, the guardian angels, that really make up the underlying message of this film.
I think this film is a spiritual journey made and conceptualized to entertain, and as you were saying, the most important thing I see in this film is that there's an invisible world around us that we can't see, but it's influencing and it's acting, interacting with us each and every moment. So in this film, you will see the life of three regular people who really have some struggles in life, and they're almost quitting to have some faith and some response to the answers that they are seeking for, and they find a place and where everything, because of their experience and what happens during that moment that they can see what really happens in the spiritual world, they really get a transformation and a healing and everything that is beyond our own eyes.
Now, what I really appreciated about the film was that the interactions between the characters are very, very realistic, very powerful. So it broadens the appeal of the film. Everyone, young and old, can really identify with that theme. How were you able to convey that during the course of your preparation?
Well, we had the opportunity of having Bruce Morris on board, who he has worked in Pocahontas and Hercules and other, The Little Mermaid, or other big movies, and that's one of his main focuses. He really does to makes that the movies characters are that you believe them and that you feel with them. And as you were saying, the good thing, even if it's animated and you feel it's for children, I think it's for all ages. I've seen people from all ages call me and say, well, I experienced this and I experienced this other thing. So I think that's one of the achievements of Bruce, that was a succeed.
Pablo, it's interesting that you mentioned Pocahontas and Hercules, because as I was watching the film, there was a little bit of familiarity there, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Talk to us a little bit about the animation in the film. We saw a quick clip ahead of our interview. Please explain to us the animation and how you came about developing these characters.
Well, it was very important for us to fit. First of all, it's the first movie ever made in Mexico in 3D in stereoscopy. But it was also important for us that once that you were inside the movie, you really felt and that you could move along with the art and with the music. Also, Mark McKenzie, who did the music for Spider-Man, helped us to do the score, and I think this really helps with the images to get inside the story, and you will see as the story of an old lady who is almost alone without her family, a lady that is a single mother that is struggling to raise up his boy, and also a bus driver who has worked a lot overtime to pay for his children's studies, and then they are struggling because of other things that happen to the regular people. So I think that's one of the main things of seeing how the guardian angels take you and help you to go through your regular life. And also you will see the devils and the dark forces behind them trying to block your achievements.
You can't block your blessings and you can't block your achievements. I saw that throughout the movie, and I also saw a great emphasis on clarity and not judging people by what we see outwardly, but to walk in their shoes and understand that they're going through something. This is a very peaceful and spiritual film, Pablo. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and walking us through this.
No, thank you very much, Elizabeth, and very nice to talk to you, and thank you.
Thank you. Up next, the Pope's Twitter account has a big impact in Brooklyn after the break. Welcome back to Currents. Yesterday we reported to you about the Pope's new Twitter account. More than 100,000 people are now following him, and the bookmakers in London predict at least 1 million will sign on by the end of the year, a little more than 3 weeks away. The Holy Father's handle is Pontifex. A 4-year-old Brooklyn advertising company uses the Twitter account Pontiflex. Now, they have posted that they are deeply humbled by the surge of new followers. Inasmuch as there's only a 1-letter difference, L, between their handle and the Pope's, they're also directing people to @Pontifex. The director of social innovation for Twitter attended yesterday's Vatican announcement, and Claire Diaz-Ortiz says the high level of interest in religion on Twitter is surprising.
The thing we see with religion, and the thing that's so interesting about religion to me and why I enjoy sort of what I do and getting to work with religious leaders on this space, is that their engagement levels are really through the roof. So if you look at an average pastor in comparison, you look at his number of followers and you compare that to let's say an LA film star, you see that engagement per number of followers is so much higher for a religious leader. And what this tells us is that this is the kind of material that people on Twitter want to connect with and want to hear about more. We walked into the press conference this morning, and the main account, because today we launched 8 accounts, but the main one in English, @Pontifex, had 11 followers when we walked in, and the last time I checked it had 14,000, and we're still standing in the room of the press conference, so that's a pretty great feat already.
New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan was one of the first to sign up as a follower of the Pope. Not surprising, since he's very active himself on Twitter. One of the cardinals that tweet, now joined by the Pope in the cyber world.
The moment was historic as the Pope sent out his first ever tweet. A year and a half later, Benedict XVI will have his own account on the social networking site Twitter, a monumental occasion within the virtual world. But within the Vatican, the Pope is not the first to embrace this new technology. Among the most popular Catholic leaders in cyberspace is Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Archbishop of New York. He has over 61,500 followers and uses Twitter frequently to share photos and articles about his latest events. He also shows off his great sense of humor. Yet despite the popularity among American cardinals, Italian Cardinal Gianfranco Ravasi also stands out. The prefect of the Pontifical Council for Culture has 26,000 followers and often tweets in various languages. Another popular Italian is Angelo Scola, Patriarch of Milan. His latest tweet uses the hashtag Advent, which kicks off Sunday, and offers advice on how to spend the time. He even has his own webpage, angeloscola.it. Meanwhile, Boston Cardinal Sean O'Malley has his own blog, which he updates weekly, and his own Twitter account to share photos and articles with his 6,700 followers. The Archbishop of Barcelona, Cardinal Luis Martinez Sistach, is new to social networking and follows only 22 people, among them the Catalunya Cristiana Weekly. He has over 1,000 followers and growing. Still, other princes of the church are sticking to Facebook. Newly created Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Archbishop of Manila, has over 100,000 likes on his Facebook profile. With Benedict XVI slated to join cyberspace, it is likely that he will top the rankings in the coming days.
The Pope's first tweet is set for December 12th. Meantime, the Holy Father has welcomed the circus to the Vatican. A parade of performers entered into St. Peter's Square over the weekend, including circus performers, street musicians, and other entertainers. The Pope met with them at Paul VI Hall, and he applauded their ability to bring different people together and to engage in an immediate forum of communication. Then acrobats entertained the Holy Father, and finally, the Pope got to meet a special performer. The Pope hesitating a bit there, but in the end could not resist that face. On that great note, thank you for joining us. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a good night.